everyone, and welcome to Green Healing, where we talk about abuse, post-traumatic/complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and healing through natural healing and alternative healing. And today's slightly different format. I'm sitting in my kitchen. I want to talk about the importance of nutrition and some of the symptoms that CPTSD has on our physical body, because we've been talking about abusers. I'm going to be going into forms of abuse and talking about symptoms on the mental and the emotional, but it's important to acknowledge the effects that it has on us physically as well, because it does really affect our bodies. And most notably, fatigue and weakness slash burnout, weight loss in excess or weight gain in excess, and hair loss or hair thinning. And these are key physical symptoms that remind us that a switch in nutrition can help us heal our bodies even more. And when our bodies are healing, our emotions and heart can heal as well. Because if we're physically weak, then we're also mentally and emotionally weak. So we want to balance everything out. That's the goal. And recently I've switched up my diet because I've plateaued from healing from the burnout, and I wasn't able to gain weight. I wasn't able to gain more energy. But I had all this energy that prevented me from sleeping, but I didn't know where it was coming from necessarily. And I've been experiencing a bit of hair thinning. It doesn't necessarily show like this with, I think the long hair camouflages a lot of it, but my scalp has been irritated, itchy, and that can be conducive of candida in the body and stuff like that. But nutrition can help with that. And right now, although I'm counting the strands of hair that I'm losing, which is a lot more than I'm used to losing, I am also focusing on the regenerative aspects of my hair so that I can, instead of having flat here and then bulging out because my hair does that, so I can have voluminous here. I don't mind poofy hair anymore. I used to want flat hair. Now that I have a much thinner mass of hair on my head than I've always had and I've ever had before. Although I'm pretty sure I've experienced thinning or in the past at some point, it kind of brings it all home to realize, wait, this is a bit not normal. Maybe it's indicating something else, something I need to address within my body, because as within, so without. So, but first I want to touch upon really the energy, because I had this excess of energy and I didn't really know where it was coming from, but my body was still drained and I wasn't gaining any weight and I wasn't gaining more energy to be able to be more active physically. And the discussions I had with my nutritionist also led me to, I have to work on my anxiety disorder, because that affects me physically. The adrenal glands are at the same time overactive and at the same time underactive because of the fight, flight, freeze reflex thing of the anxiety. So when I can take care of that, it'll help physically. So taking my tinctures, black flower remedies, restorative yoga, a bit of working out because the rage also doesn't help with, if there's rage attached to an emotional flashback, that doesn't help. And but the energy, little bursts of energy, it was as though I was high on caffeine, but I haven't taken an ounce of caffeine in years. So we discovered that it was coming from sugar. And it's not that I need to stop eating fruits or anything like that, but I do tend to have a bit of a sweet tooth. I tend to add maple syrup to my smoothies and stuff like that. So I need to, instead of putting maple syrup and juice with the fruit in my smoothies, almond milk, coconut milk, stuff like that. Since I have to be dairy free, I go with the alternative milk options. So I have to have more protein. So the other day I added some almond bits in it. It's a question of reducing the high intense sugars. So I don't really drink alcohol very often, but when I do drink it, I tend to binge. So less alcohol, less pasta, a little bit less rice. So switching it up to quinoa. For you, it might be different. This is just personally what it is for me. So, and stopping to drink ginger ale. That was, I like to put limoncello in ginger ale. So cutting that out, and it's been a couple of weeks already. And what I noticed is I've increased my protein intake significantly and decreased my sugar intake significantly to just have the bare minimum, the natural sugars, because I'm not going to stop fruits. I'm not going to, And what I noticed is I've had more days where I feel more burnt out. But all that excess energy was coming from the sugar. So it's natural that I feel a little bit more burnt out at the beginning while my body is adjusting and healing. Instead of having unnatural energy, now it's focusing, instead of spending that little quick burst of energy that sugar creates, it's focusing on healing the body and restoring the cells within, which is causing a bit of fatigue and a bit of draining, which seems like a regression before things are going to get better, but I actually feel better about it than when I felt drained in the past. Now, the other main issue is the weight. Some people might, depending on nutrition, have an excess of weight gain. In my case, it's an excess of weight loss. This time last year, I was at 100 pounds, and that's not normal. For 5'7", I need to be 125. Between 125 and 130 is the healthy norm for my height, my build, small boned, and before the burnout, I danced, so I had very little arm muscles, but mostly in the thighs, in the legs, the calves, the thighs. I had strong legs, and I don't have that anymore. And so the restorative yoga is going to help restore the cells, but the working out is going to help for the muscle mass. But it's not just muscle mass. The increase in protein is going to help have enough energy to move the body for the stamina. When there's better stamina, then the blood can circulate well in my body. If I'm moving and my blood is circulating, then my cells are regenerating. If I'm not moving, my blood isn't circulating, my cells aren't regenerating, which is also related to the hair thinning, the hair loss, and the loss of weight and the loss of energy. So yes, when I start working out, I might, I kind of started, but I don't have a routine set yet. It's only been 2 weeks, so I'm implementing things gradually, which is, some people, it's better to implement gradually. Some people, it's better to implement all in one shot. For me, it's good gradually. So now that I've had a good routine of this and that and a few other things, I'm ready to move to a more physical step. And I have my week plan worked out. I have mindful meditation Monday. I have Tabata Tuesday. And mindful meditation, if I don't do it any other day of the week or every day of the week, at least Mondays, I'll play some piano. It really puts me in a meditative state. Tabata Tuesday for the Tabata workout is just 4 minutes and intense, and that's a good way to start working out. Then I have walking Wednesday. I have to go out in nature. Nature heals. What was Thursday? Restorative Thursday. That's when I do my restorative yoga. Funky Friday, just to move around, maybe dance a bit. Just a few minutes of just a bit of movement in the body, get some blood circulating through the body. Divination Saturday, because I like to get into divination, and it's also meditative, so I can meditate during that time. And Smoothie Sunday. If I have no smoothies any other day of the week, at least I have Smoothie Sunday, And I have a specific smoothie, high in protein with some nice fruits. And I like to vary them, and I've been varying different flavors and stuff. So if any of you are curious of the different types of smoothies that I've been doing, I've been posting them on Steamit. So you can always go check steamit.com/@BinkyProd with the @ symbol. So so I weighed myself after the first week of my new diet, and I think it's been 2.5 weeks now. So I weighed myself, and I was at 111 pounds, which is really good because last year I was at 100 pounds, and I need to gain weight but maintain that weight. So yes, it might fluctuate a bit, and I want it distributed to different parts of my body. So I need some muscle mass and to help restore the cells in my body. But already that I'm at 111, I've passed the 110 mark, and hopefully I can stay above 110, and that's good. I'm like, okay, 15 more pounds to go to 125. And if you're on the opposite end and you need to lose weight, then a new diet, diet means just switching up what you're eating and what you're not eating, and the different activities that you do for your lifestyle that will help you maintain a healthy weight. So really I'm sharing what's working for me, what I've had to do, and the symptoms. And if you want to really focus on what will work for you, it's probably best for you to contact a nutritionist. They will be able to, there was an elaborate test with so many questions. Some questions were kind of repetitive, and it really indicates the adrenal gland, the thyroid gland, your sugar intake, protein intake, this and that. And it's a good way to figure out what you need to adjust so that your body can heal. And with stronger bodies, our minds and hearts can be stronger as well. And I've noticed on days, sometimes my body is weak, but my mind and my heart is strong, and it brings up the body a bit because the three work together. But when the body's really, really so low, so weak, it brings down the emotional and the mental aspect also. So the balance is going to help reduce symptoms as well. And I discovered recently that my anxiety and CPTSD are also tied with the burnout, which is, everything is intertwined. Now, onto hair and scalp. Healthy hair and scalp. If you have a lot of itchy scalp, if you feel burning, my strands have felt sensitive. I'll move my head and I feel as though something is pulling. I've never felt that before. And in the past I've been rough with my hair. And so really focusing on, maybe I'm just feeling things amplified because I'm an empathetic person and I'm very sensitive, and I'm focusing on that. But that's why I'm trying to focus on a mass of restored strong hair on my head instead of I'm observing what I'm losing, just to keep track, to count for the first couple months to see if there's an increase or decrease. I'm putting essential oils in my shampoo. I'm buying unscented shampoo and conditioner, natural. Some naturals are better than others. So I'm experimenting, trial and error. That's my choice, But I got really worried because it was burning, it was itching, and I was losing a lot more. And the mass of hair is thinner than it used to be. So that was an indication that something inside the body wasn't right. And I know that candida can cause that, and I frequently have candida reactions, and sugar kind of feeds candida. So, eating more garlic, I don't mind. And, the diet thing will help with that. And I think the almonds, more walnuts, more nuts, more protein altogether in meats. If you're vegan, in other, in grains like quinoa and in nuts, will help restore not just to have a healthy scalp and restore the hair strands, to have healthy, strong hair, but also restore other cells in your body, because it's all related. And this was my body's way to shout out at me, hey, you need to do something. Though it still feels kind of itchy. I just washed it, but it still feel, probably because I was scratching a lot, it still feels kind of itchy. It still feels kind of burning. But, I noticed a bit more, I used to not have this here and stuff. So I'm trying not to worry too much about it, because I do have long hair, and I've always been a big shedder, but it was an indication. And for me, my hair is my pride and joy. Like, what would you worry about your hair? You have nice long hair or whatever. But if it goes on for too long without being addressed, then I could end up with bald patches. And what didn't help was I was plucking out white hair, and I don't know when this happened. A lot of times I realized something, that I was brainwashed by the abuser and I wasn't self-aware of it, but I was obsessed with plucking out all my white hairs. And I didn't care if I plucked out regular hair with it. And I kept plucking it out, and I would like 4 or 5 strands of hair at a time. And that doesn't help. So for the past, I think, month, even before I started the new diet, I stopped plucking. Any hair on my head is good right now. And if you've experienced hair loss or hair thinning more intense, you know that any hair is good. And, you probably feel the same way. And so I don't want to let it get to that intense point, because I want to love and nurture every aspect of my body. So now I love and nurture even the white hair. They're strong. They're more sturdy, although they have been shedding a bit as well. They seem to be good and strong. And what I've noticed is mostly the thinner hairs have been shedding. The thicker hairs are staying, and that's always good. And in my case, when my hair is like this, it doesn't show as bad, and I can't really show you the back. It's more here that I've lost, and that it's thin more in the back patch than in the front. In the front, it has always been thicker, and my hair does expand. But if you've experienced hair thinning or bald patches or hair loss in excess, then you'll notice areas where your hair is stronger and areas where your hair is less strong. And I've started to massage those areas that tend to itch, that tend to burn, and that tend to be a little less strong. So I have the crown that I massage up to here, and the here and the back, and a bit at the bottom. But the bottom seems to be good and strong. So those are tricks that I've adopted to help for the healthy scalp, aside from the essential oils, the lavender in my shampoo, and the tea tree oil when it itches too much. Though I didn't put tea tree oil this week, and it really was intense. The tea tree oil helps to cool. So, but just experiment in one little place if you're going to try essential oils, because you might not have the same reaction as me to it. And I've spoken to other people who did experience hair thinning, and my EFT therapist said that the time she experienced a lot of hair thinning, that you could almost see the scalp through and through, and it was indicating something to the body, and a lot of psychological and emotional things. And she worked on that, and then her hair grew back even more beautiful than it was before. So it's a whole restorative thing. The energy, the weight, the hair, everything is related and requires internal healing as well, physical internal healing. Because I've been focusing a lot on emotional and mental internal healing, and that's been working great. But physically, I've not been healing. So I'm going to be checking, for my weight. Hopefully I can gain even more. I don't know how long that's going to take, but already I've observed I started EFT in June of 2017. And in June 2017, I was at 100 pounds. And now I'm at over 110, 111. We'll say around 110. That means that in that 1 year, even if my hair was thinning, even if my diet wasn't optimal, and I had an excess of sugar and a lack of protein, and I wasn't taking care of my anxiety as much, the EFT, the healing, because everything is related, was helping with the gain of energy and the gain of weight somehow. So I know that working on the physical aspect to gain weight, gain energy, regenerate the cells on a physical level will help the mental and the emotional as well. And I can just imagine everything, well, hopefully skyrocketing, but I know that I've always been a gradual, slow progressor. Things go whoop, and then slowly over time. And sometimes up and down, and sometimes things seem or feel as though they get worse, like with a homeopathic remedy, before it gets better. So I have to trust that my body also knows what's best for it. But it's really all related. So hopefully this has helped you if you've noticed an excess of weight loss or gain, fatigue, either adrenal fatigue. Eye fatigue also indicates adrenal fatigue. If you're seeing blurrier than usual, it might just be eye fatigue as opposed in relation to adrenal fatigue as opposed to just your eyesight going. An excess of loss of energy, an excess of fatigue, hair loss or thinning, any of those symptoms are an indication that physically you need to address certain things. Your body is telling you to address certain things, and it's an indication of what's going on emotionally and mentally. Emotionally and mentally. It's my dyslexia. So I also notice that I think when I have my period and when I'm experiencing more emotional flashbacks and more rage, I think that's when I lose more hair. Last week, every time I washed twice a week. Every time I washed, I lost over 300 strands of hair. That's a little excessive. The normal, I read that the normal is for women, at least, I don't know what it is for men. For women, it's between 50 and 100 strands a day. Sometimes, depending where you are in terms of age, if you're premenopausal, if you're pregnant, things like that, it could go up to 150. But the standard is between 50 and 100 strands a day. So sometimes I notice I lose only 30 or 40 when I'm not washing, but then 150 to 100 when I'm washing. Recently, it's been closer to 300. I don't know if it's because I'm focusing on that. Whatever you focus on grows. So maybe I need to stop counting, but I want to keep track for at least a couple of weeks, at least a few weeks, counting the strands I lose approximately, just to see how what I'm doing is affecting that, because it's an indication of what's going on in other areas of the body as well, not just there. And I changed my calcium magnesium to chelated because it's better absorbed by the body, but the chelated one doesn't have vitamin D, and I think that's where I'm lacking also. Different people might need different supplements. I need vitamin E, vitamin D, vitamin B. For vitamin E in my omegas, I'm taking a teaspoonful of carnelian oil every day, if ever any of you are interested in trying that out. I tried hemp oil in the past, but it's difficult to find hemp oil. Sometimes carnelian oil, you can cook with it. There's no maximum a day that you can take. So you can put it in your meals, you can put it in your salad dressing. And I take it at least every day when I take my vitamins after breakfast. And it has omega-3, omega-6, and vitamin E. So that's really good. Whereas hemp oil has omega-3, omega-6, but no vitamin E. So I'm trying the carnelian oil now, and it tastes better than the hemp oil, and it's not so bad. So, and I just washed my hair and I lost 305 strands of hair, which is pretty excessive. And so I'm trying not to worry too much about that. I know that it's an indication of internal, the weight, the weight is starting to put on a bit. So my main concerns were lack of energy and lack of weight. So I think the diet, and as I start doing the yoga more regularly, the workout, the more physical activity, I think that's going to help my body overall, which is also going to help the mental and the emotional, because things have been going fairly well. Rage has been reduced a lot. Panic has been reduced a lot. But there's still things I can't do that I used to be able to do. And there's still moments in the month, particular moments in the month, like when I'm on the verge, as I call it, or when in the first few days of my menstrual cycle, when I start my period, that where I experience a lot more emotions of rage, where I go and walk it off. But I need physical activity, not just when I'm experiencing rage. So that's what I'm working on implementing in my routine, so that hopefully it reduces the overall rage, but my physical activity is increased and the blood can circulate to regenerate my cells. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough about hair and weight and energy. So I encourage you all to speak to a nutritionist if you're experiencing any of these symptoms, and so that we can all heal together, So hopefully this was helpful for you. Like this video, if you're on YouTube watching it, like the video if you like it. If you're listening to it on iTunes, like it there.